So I've got a couple of thoughts on solar panels, and I've got three particular reasons why you should really take caution if you're considering solar panels on your house, at least in Central Texas. Number one, and this one's probably the most important, is the company that you're choosing to potentially put on your solar panels still going to be here in even 3 years? It seems that these companies come up out of nowhere. They have zero track record of being around for very long. They disappear, and people are getting left with footing the bill for something in a lot of different cases. I just don't see that they have the longevity of being here for a long time because you don't see electric companies putting on solar panels or expanding that proper or that opportunity. So it begs the question, why are these companies here and how long are they going to be here? What happens to my warranty? If something, there's been plenty of instances where I've had clients have said, well, the solar panel company said that they would take my panels off and move them on to the next house. And they said it was for free. Yes, but have you seen that in writing? And is that actually the case? Because more than likely, A, you're not going to be able to get them to actually get out there and do it. B, if you can get a hold of them, if they're still around, then unless you got it in writing that it was actually going to happen and they can move it to your next house, then do they repair the roof afterward? And what's the cost of that going to be? You definitely don't want to be leaving massive holes in your roof that are going to end up being somebody else's problem later on down the line. So it just causes a lot of questions about the longevity of these companies and whether or not they're going to be around for the long haul. The second thing that I would consider if you're looking into solar panels is, what is the true cost of the solar panels? My impression of these companies is that they are like the used car salesmen of solar panel companies. Like, they come up, first of all, they're knocking on your door in a lot of cases. You're probably not the one actually calling them, but if you are, okay, cool. However, they usually ask you what are your monthly payments? It just seems to me that it's far too easy to build in the cost of these solar panels based off of what your actual price of electric cost actually is. So let's say, for example, you live in a house that has very poor insulation and you can hear, your neighbors through the walls. Then of course you're going to have higher bills because you're just not as efficient in being able to keep all of your AC in the area. Or maybe your unit's on the crapper and it's about to get out. Or maybe it just needs to be cleaned. You'd be surprising what a good cleaning can do for an AC unit. So that fluctuates very widely. And so if they're focusing primarily on what is your price per month, that's a big red flag for me. They're probably building in some costs that don't actually cost that much, because it seems that you can't find a company that will just let you buy the panels for what they are and the charging, and then you have no way of actually being able to verify what those actual costs of those panels are either. So there's just too many variables right there. And then the third and final thing is, what happens when the roof has to be repaired? It's gonna happen. Roofs do not last that long. That time will come when you're going to have to repair your roof. Who's going to do it? Are you going to be able to call that same company, have them remove all of the solar panels, take everything off, fix the roof, and then put it all back on? Is your insurance company going to cover all of that? Have you verified that your insurance is going to be able to have that full coverage for complete replacement versus just repair? There's a big difference between those two policies. So that's a really big question. And I understand that if you're not going to be in the house for a super long period of time, then maybe it's not a problem that you're necessarily too worried about. But we get plenty of hail here in Texas. This last spring that we just had here in 2022 was something that I had never experienced since being here in 06. We had tornadoes come through that actually took out a portion of Salado. If I remember correctly, there was a church that went down. So that stuff can happen. You can never discount the potential for Mother Nature, and that stuff is going to be really, really important to kind of line out. And I do have one little sub point I want to touch on here as well, and that is that, at least in most markets, I would venture to guess that solar panels are not going to actually add value. They don't in my market, not Central Texas. Austin is an exception, but even then it's still going to massively complicate the process. Because here's what happens. If you have a $250,000 house, you put the solar panels on, let's just say 4 years ago. Hopefully you didn't just put them on. You'd be surprised how often that happens. And you owe, say, $30,000 on those solar panels. Well, we're not in a seller's market anymore. So you're not only going to have to either foot the bill for that $30,000 note or put that back on the sellers, because or the new buyers, they're going to have to pick up that note in order to finish the house. So now it's $250 plus another 30. Well, now they're looking at 280, and that wasn't the price range they were originally looking for. So that ultimately just doesn't bode well. It's this sort of surprise for most sellers, and it's going to massively limit your buyer pool. And that is not what you want in an instance where you have more competition you have to deal with. You want to be as competitive as you possibly can, getting out there and as many people as you possibly can. Solar panels just doesn't do it for me. So do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts? Remember, that's just the way I see it. And I haven't backed up any of this particular conversation with a whole lot of data. This is just my experience, what I've seen, and kind of what my impressions are of it, and some of the concerns that I have. So do you have the same concerns? Have you thought about the same thing? Or did you do solar panels and it worked out great? Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the comments.